All right, guys. I think by now we've all heard the news. Shock of shocks. Harry and Meghan are going to have royal titles for their children. After much deliberation and thought, these two have come together and decided that their children will be allowed to have their royal titles. Let's be frank. Is anybody surprised? First of all, they announced it publicly by making sure that when Lilibet was christened a couple of days ago, that she was christened and they used the title Princess Lilibet when they christened her. Is anybody surprised? I certainly am not. Sorry. Coffee. Is anybody surprised? No, of course not, because what else are these two going to do? I mean, these two have sunk to so many lows to make a buck that is anybody even remotely surprised that they've now brought their kids into the mix. These two who wanted nothing but a private, quiet life, and did not want their children to be a public spectacle, much less a public spectacle in the royal family. I do not think any of us who follow the Harkles are surprised by this. They have hit a point of irrelevancy that's like a whole new level. So, what do these two have to do now? Because they have nothing left to sell to the public. They have nothing. But they do have two children who now hold royal titles. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't start to see a little bit more into the lives of their children now. This seriously makes me wonder that. It also seriously makes me wonder now if these two are going to whine and cry, continue to whine and cry about security concerns now that their children have royal titles, that their kids are going to need, you know, security and this and that. It's going to be very interesting. And leading up to the coronation, a lot of people have speculated about whether or not they would even come to the coronation. Now I'm starting to think that they will. And I think it will be the two of them. Megsy's going to get her little usage of an apartment in Buckingham Palace. So why wouldn't she go? But yeah, the kids have taken royal titles. This coming from the guy who whines and cries in his book about how much pressure it was to have the term prince in his name title, who didn't want to put that pressure on his kids, which is why he moved them to Los Angeles and took them away from the royal family. But now the narrative has spun and changed, and now it's, oh, well, we don't want the kids to not have the opportunity to have titles, and when they get older, they'll be allowed to choose whether or not they want to be working royals or what they want to do with their titles, or I guess they could give up their titles when they get older. Really? Does anybody believe that that's how they're going to be raised? This coming from the two people who thought the royal family is the most racist, awful, horrible organization ever known to mankind, and they've just put their children into it. This coming from Megsy, who said her son would not be entitled to a royal title because of his potential skin color. The hypocrisy of all of this is mind-boggling. These two had a huge christening for them, a huge intimate christening with them. Of course, Tyler Perry was there. Of course he was. Of course, all their big friends were there. Interesting on that note, though, on the christening note, Charles didn't go. Nobody from the royal family showed up. They were invited. Nobody showed up. And it's interesting because there was no, from what people have been able to find, there was no conflicting events. There was no reason why they wouldn't go other than the fact that they just don't like these two and didn't want to go. And she actually used the title before it was even officially announced or officially changed on the royal website or any of that stuff, because we know Meghan. Meghan doesn't follow protocol. But she's sure more than happy now to have a little girl running around in the house that's a princess. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes and what they wind up doing with it. But I sense they see dollar signs and nothing more. Just my thoughts. What are your thoughts on all of this?